the final chapter of my wild ride, How to Thrive After Breast Cancer and Infidelity, is called Resting in Peace. And in some ways, it wasn't even the chapter I was initially planning to write, but it became one that I kept on finding information that I had to put in. And it's a subject that is so taboo in our culture of how to deal with death and dying. It's a big issue, and yet, you know, the one guarantee that we have when we come into this world is that we are going to die, and our loved ones are going to die. I mean, that is the thing. Everybody's going to die. We just don't know when. And you want to be aware of that and have some kind of plan in mind. First of all, not to leave your loved ones with a huge mess when you die, so nobody knows where anything is, and you know nobody knows what you really wanted, and or if you don't. And the other big problem is if you don't talk about your living will stuff, you can end up in a nursing home having a really horrible time. One of the sections in that final chapter, it may be in the final chapter, it may even be earlier, is about nursing home hell. And this came about, I wrote that because a friend of mine had Guillain-Barré syndrome, just came on suddenly after having got the flu. And she ended up suddenly becoming completely paralyzed, and she didn't own her own home. She didn't have any relatives and friends here on Maui. And what ended up happening to her was that she was put into a nursing home facility that she didn't want to go into, and the treatment there was not that great. You know, it was a big deal for her to even get the nurses to brush her hair and clean her teeth and all of these kinds of things. And one of her good friends wanted her to come back to her house, but because that person wasn't a blood relative, she wasn't allowed to do that. And so these are things that you really want to try and work out in your mind what you would want before you need them. Because when you are incapacitated, you know, you aren't in a position to make a lot of those decisions. A lot of those decisions are made for you, and they may not be decisions that you actually want. I remember looking at an AARP poll, and it said that, you know, 80% of people, 80+% of people wanted to die at home, and yet maybe 80% of people die in a hospital or a hospice facility. So where's the disconnect? There's a disconnect there, and so you need to have your wishes written down. And one of the things that I mention in the book is the 5 wishes form. Say one good thing about getting divorced was, I mean, there are good and bad things about getting divorced, but it forces you to get your affairs in order and to write everything down. You have to have a complete list of all your assets and all your bank accounts and any, you know, other financial accounts or IRAs or any of this. And it's good to do that because that's also very necessary for, you know, death and dying planning, you know, because you need to be making that pretty clear so that you know what's there, and so that your friends and family, whoever you want to leave that's to, or whoever you want to help take care of you, those are really important things to get straight. And Kay, one of the things that we talked about was that there was a series of documents that I sent Tracy about things like the 5 wishes plan, you know, a consent form for what you, if you were to be hospitalized, even if it's not a, you know, totally life-threatening disease, what you would and do not consent to, because those are important issues to be concerned about these days. You know, a lot of people have ended up in hospital getting treatment that they did not really agree to. And so if you have something in writing that you have notarized and you have sent it to the doctors and the hospitals and all of that, then they are legally bound to go with your wishes. If you say, I do not consent to drug X, they cannot give you that drug or whatever it is that you don't want.